So me and TJ were talking about this on our live stream yesterday. By the way, tune in at 6 o'clock on Wednesdays to watch us live and give your comments to us. But we were talking about how this immigration bill that is being debated in Congress right now, it's not going to be the defining moment of the Biden presidency, but I think it's going to be one of them because it is a huge bill. There's so much in this bill and it could go. I think this is going to have a significant impact on the election, how this bill gets perceived. Because here's essentially what's going on right now, guys. The Republicans said, we will fund Ukraine and Israel for you if you give us significant concessions on immigration policy. And if you've been following this show for a while, you know that Biden's immigration policy was already nearly identical to Trump's. So he basically went farther right with his immigration policy here. And I don't want to exaggerate. So I will let the words of the Amy Fisher, the director of refugee and migrant rights for Amnesty International USA, speak for me. And she called these policies, quote, draconian and antithetical to human rights. That is the bill that was presented to Republicans here. Republicans basically got everything they could have wanted. It was a wet dream for conservatives who hate immigration and want to close the borders. Yada, yada. And they said no. They're saying no. And they're not saying no because of any policy thing. Like they've pointed out a couple little policy maneuvers that they don't like in it. But they're also saying the quiet part out loud. And many of them are just straight up with their words, just saying, hey, we don't want to vote for this because it's going to make Obama look good. Not, I'm sorry, Obama. Biden look good. We were just talking about Obama during the break.
Right.
And that is the reasoning here. Republicans are really just getting in lockstep and going, we hate the border. We there's a border crisis going on. Biden is offering us billions of dollars to fund our border and like process immigrants more quickly and swiftly. And we're going to say no to it because we want to hurt Biden's chances in November. And I think, there's a lot to get into with this bill, and we're going to talk about what's in it. But the first thing I want to talk about is, does this work as a political strategy? Like, do we think the American people in general are going to buy that bullshit? Because if I'm a standard normie Republican right now, I am furious with Republican politicians. I am seething because everything I ever wanted about immigration is on the table here. And they're, unless I just like don't want any immigrants ever, but that's not a normie conservative Republican. And my politicians are voting no on it because we don't want Biden to get credit. It's so dumb. Do we think this is a successful political strategy for the Republicans? Will it work? TJ, you go first.
Uh, I don't know. I don't because we discussed this on like how your normie conservative will feel about it. And as we mentioned in other segments, that a lot of normie conservatives are not that bright or too. I mean, it's not like, we're dealing with Mensa members here, but it's I do understand the political strategy they're using. I do. Because Nancy Pelosi, we talked about her earlier in the show. It was in 2020, and there was talk about another stimulus check. I just thought it was just now that Trump was trying to get pushed out. Trump
Mhm.
was really pushing this. And Pelosi said, let's delay it until early 2021. And the reasoning was obvious. Like, oh, yeah, we don't want Trump to get another victory. You guys can wait for this $800. Now, listen, morally, not great. Politically, I get it. Like, I do get it. So I don't think that it's going to like bite the Republicans super hard. I think because there are a few Republicans in Congress. Those are the ones that are really funny. The ones that are saying like, "Hey, this is nonsense," because you can tell who the true believers are. You like what's his name with the eye patch, Dan Crenshaw. He's been whining about, "Hey, this is actually really good, and we shouldn't let Donald Trump." Destroy our national sovereignty for his own vanity because he actually believes this nonsense. And you talked about the human who the quote about how this is draconian on a human rights level, and I wrote this as that we don't really care about human rights. What people actually care about are citizen rights. That's just like around the planet, really. It's not just central
Hmm.
to the United States. Is that it's not like when you see a news report and it says that 85 people died in an earthquake in Honduras, and 3 of them were American. We're like, oh my God, really? Because like we care about citizen rights more than we actually care about humanity. But it is just funny. It's watching Trump is funny all the time because he's like you said, John, making it very clear that there's no subterfuge here. He just, yeah, I don't like it because I want to take credit for it. So watching the Republicans dance around this is pretty fun. But what do you think, Natalie? What do you see from this?
You guys, it's just the whole thing just gives me the icks because it's like, okay, no matter what, the Republicans get what they want. Like
Yes,
the bill
yes.
passes, they decide it's a go, they get what they want. They decide, no, we're not doing this because it could possibly make Biden look a little less horrible than he does right now. So we're not going to do it. So either way, the Republicans kind of win, right? I mean, I feel like, meaning like the strategy, they kind of win. But when it comes to the voters and what they're going to say or think about this, is this even going to be something that's going to impact the election 9 months from now? I don't know. I doubt it. So to me, it unfortunately, it just feels like another loss for the Democrats because they could have put together the most progressive, amazing sort of, ideas and it wouldn't matter. And then they can move even farther right than Trump did and it doesn't matter. So I guess at the end of the day, it's like, what is the end game here for the Republicans other than to do absolutely nothing? And if the Democrats were smart, that would be the messaging that I would hit home on the left, is reminding people over and over and over again how ineffectual and absurd the Republicans are, that they get nothing done. They are the get nothing done party. And that would be the message I would take from this if I was working with the left on how to approach this from a strategy perspective.
Question I want to ask real quick, Natalie. What do you think Biden wants here? Because this is something John and I were talking about. Is that Biden came in and made a few minor tweaks, honestly, to the border thing, which does speak also to the duplicitous nature of Democratic politicians who, were yelling from the rooftops about how awful Trump's policies were, and then Biden's like, okay, we're not going to separate families anymore. But that's pretty much all I'm changing on this. Everything else, all the cruelty we're going to keep. Like, do you think Biden is, this 40 chess player is like, aha, I'm going to call the Republicans bluff and give them everything they want just so they can turn it down to try to make them look bad? Or do you think that, if he had a democratically controlled House and Senate, that he would push the same bill no matter what? Because we were talking about the problem that the Democrats have with the border is that they kind of capitulate everything the Republicans say is true, that, there is an invasion, from our southern border, and we do need to do something to stop the crime and the violence and, the sexual assaults that are coming from all these brown people, instead of putting forth, well, hey, why don't we have a system where people can actually come in and get, work visas and set them up with places to stay? Instead, they just hand everything over to the Republicans. Like, do you think he actually wants this, or do you think this is a ploy?
I mean, I think we were assuming that Biden is a real Democrat, and I don't ever think he has been or has run that way. I think he's always, we're dealing with like Republican light and then crazy Republican. We don't even have like a progressive party right now, in my opinion. We have a few people pushing perhaps progressive ideas in various states, but there's no progressive party here. So I think the other thing we forget about is Americans love the word safety. And they'll give up a lot in the name of safety. So he's still appealing to that base of safety, law, and order. And I think that rings for both parties. They like those words. So I don't even know if it would have to be as different for it to pass. I was just saying, in my dream imagination, you could have put together this amazing thing and it wouldn't have mattered anyway, right? In the reality that we're in. But no, I don't think Biden has ever touted himself or pretended to be a progressive. And I think he holds his nose when he has to deal with said progressives anyway.
Sure. Lynn, I'm about to get on my soapbox, but I want to hear what you think first.
I personally, in regard to this bill, I think that, of course, the Republicans are not going to let you get away with it. but because they do want to take credit. But I actually think that's a missed shot for them. I think that it probably wouldn't serve Biden either way, not passing or passing, because if we're talking about the Democratic Party and we're talking about immigration policy, and you going to the left of Trump, how is that going to help you in your Democratic base, who already has a problem with you in regard to your response, to what's going on in Israel and, in Gaza? So I don't really, and to fold in that way, just so that if you say, oh, I'm going to give you everything you want, you don't ever give anybody everything they want. You guys don't even consider half the things that Americans actually want. And then, for me looking through this bill and just seeing, just the different aspects of it, I'm like, this is just a different type of political grandstanding than what the Republicans would do. And I just think that I don't know that it would serve him if even if it did pass. I think that he would be feeding the Republican base that, of course, wants those things, and then he's thinking like, oh, if I pass this, they're going to vote for me. No, they're not.
Right.
They're still going to vote for
right.
Trump. They're not going to vote for you. So it doesn't matter if he passes it or not. So at the end of the day, it's like, you might as well. I mean, they're screaming about it, but at the end of the day, it's like, if you might be better off letting Trump do something like that your party particularly would not like. You're doing something that Republicans would like. What about your party, the people that have to go out and vote for you? And so I think it kind of misses the mark. I think it's like, silly.
I both agree and disagree with what you're saying, Lynn. And the thing I agree with is that this is an absolute middle finger of a bill to the progressive side of the Democratic Party. It is, hey, I want funding for Ukraine, so let's put that to the side here. But it's, hey, we're gonna fund Israel, but when in exchange we have to fuck over immigrants. And it's like, it is the most insulting package as a progressive that I've ever seen, because it's just injury to injury, and that really hurts. However, let's be honest, we're gonna drag ourselves to the polls in November, most of us, and we're gonna vote for Biden because Trump is trying to have a fascist takeover of this country. And what the fuck else are we going to do? Just like the Republicans ain't going to change their vote to Biden, and there are going to be progressives who sit this out, especially in Michigan with high Muslim populations, and it's going to cost Biden. But like, put it to the side, like, all in all, the net political impact of this isn't going to be that great, whether it gets accepted or not. However, I do think there's a serious narrative of they were hammering Biden on the economy for the past several months. They can't hammer him on Gaza because they'll be worse. They really want to, but like they don't know.
I know,
how.
right?
So
true.
But like they can't. The economy is going to be good, guys. Is all I'm saying. They like invest in the stock market, because Republicans switching hard to immigration means that the positive economic indicators that we've been seeing, they're doing their strategic math and going, well, in November 2024, we think the economy is going to run hot. So we can't be attacking Biden on that right now. We got to switch to something else, and it's immigration. And they're like, well, we can't give him the immigration bill, because if he does something on immigration, then what the fuck are we going to attack him on? Being old. Like that'll be their last refuge against him. And I hate to say this because I fucking hate Biden, but like they're running out of things to attack him on. And the conditions in American for a lot of people are getting better, and they're probably going to continue to get better throughout the year. And it's that. So that's why I like agree and disagree with what you're saying. Like, it's hard to say, will it have an impact? But like, I do think that like Republicans think it will, because they don't have any other choices here. And that is significant, in my opinion, whether it actually will have an impact or not. I don't know, though. If I had a crystal ball, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. I'd be working on Wall Street. But Natalie, what were you saying?
No, it's just like, I was just like, listen to what we're saying, because we're basically saying that the Republicans can't, they're running out of reasons to attack the Democrat president. Like, this is like so crazy to me. And I think it shows you just how far right we have moved politically, and how we continue to see how much worse
Yeah.
can this really get? Let's see, let's find out. Because to your point, you're right. There's not so much to attack them, not because he's doing a great job, but because he's in step with so many of the things that they
Yes.
want.
Mhm.
And that's,
Yes.
and then there's
They're
so many of us that are just like, what about us? Like,
some of them
hello,
want the
we
same
voted
thing.
for you. And I think that's the absolute frustration that the left is reckoning with on their own, and all the infighting that is happening within the left right now is trying to reconcile getting behind a man who literally does not give a fuck about anything that we want, like, autonomy over our own body, and like a living wage and affordable housing and healthcare and childcare, all the things that could actually make us competitive in this market globally. And it's just, which is all they care about, is their bottom line anyway. So it's just wild to me how
And then,
we're all holding space for this guy
yeah.
who is more in step with the people that are actively seeking to harm so many of us. And that's what's sad about all of this, because the alternative is somehow so much worse. And that's just where I'm at
Right.
emotionally, you guys. I don't know if you can feel it, but I'm right on the edge.
And that's
Mhm.
another thing I was saying about just him even introducing this. Like, we know how strong and how hard you're going for Israel. Like, you want that funding that didn't pass. You know what I mean? So you're really trying to get that funding. Is that part of the reason? Because that's part of the reason why you're having such a hard time right now with your own party, right? And so you're like, well, like you said, John, throw these immigrants under the bus, if it's going to serve what I'm actually doing, which is a direct contradiction to what my party and the individuals, for the most part, in the left, want to be doing, and the world at that. So,
Mhm.
it's just what you're willing to do when you want to get something done, and what you want for yourself, and what your administration's, prerogative is.
I think the best example of this, with us wondering, are these guys actually just soft right wingers, or are they just kind of playing a game? Like, the best example to prove that these folks really are just soft right wingers is, do you guys remember Congress or Senator Roy Moore from Alabama? He ran for re-election. Man, was it 6 years ago now? And or maybe 8 years ago, but he he came under fire because all these stories came out about him being with underage girls,
Yeah, yeah.
earlier. Remember
That's what I
that?
thought you were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he ran, and he lost the election because the girl wasn't related to him. If she was, the Alabama party would have probably elected him. But he lost the election like by razor thin margin to Doug Jones, Senator Doug Jones. Now, you're Doug Jones. You are a Democrat who won a razor tight race with a Republican who only lost because people found out he was a pedophile. Now, if there were ever a time for a Democrat to just go balls to the wall, lefty, hard as you can, it's right there. You are never going to win that reelection. And he didn't. He was still a middle of the road Democrat for no good reason at all, just so he could lose, when his term was up. That's all the proof I need that, yeah, these folks, this is how they actually are. It's not some sort of grand strategy. And I can't remember which one of you mentioned about how Biden doesn't give a fuck about anything else. Yeah. So I was thinking about this. Imagine if you're 81 years old. Now, I got to tell you, I mean, I'm not 81, but when I am, I have a hard time believing I'm going to give a fuck about a lot of things. Like, I'm gonna be
Right.
81, I'm
And
not
that's
gonna care.
fair.
Now, imagine you're 81, you don't give a fuck about anything, and everyone does what you tell them. Like, you just have, like, you are the most powerful individual on earth. It's going to be hard to bring up a lot of empathy for that. And John, you were talking about how the Republicans are running out of ways to attack Biden, or every attack they're using isn't working. And it reminded me of this tweet I saw a long time ago when it said that what we need to do is make a Superman movie that's not about Superman. It's about Clark Kent. And the CIA, and he's such a good reporter that the CIA is trying to assassinate him, and they can't figure out why none of their assassination attempts are working. That's what this Biden thing reminds me of. Biden's just going around like, yeah, I'm an arrogant, old piece of shit. I don't care about anything. And they're putting the guns of Navarone on this guy, and nothing's working. It's pretty funny. Like, he's like,
Yeah.
oh.
It is funny, and we're doing a lot of criticizing of Biden, of the Democrats here. And it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback, right? But I want to talk about what we think they could, like, what is the actual strategy? One of the biggest criticisms I hear from my right, from Democrats, is you progressives just hate what we're doing and don't present any actual strategy. You just want to break the system and hope it gets better. And I want to talk about how we can make it better. But we're running out of time today, and I want to save it for a whole other video. So if you're liking what we're saying right now, definitely hit that notification icon after you hit the subscribe icon, so you know when that video comes out tomorrow. And if you want to hear more details about what's actually in this bill, because I know we're not going to get to that, definitely go over to our live section and listen to TJ and I's live from yesterday. I guess it isn't yesterday when you're watching this, but go find it. You'll see it from the 7th of February, and we go into more details about what's in the bill. So if you're interested in that, definitely watch that. But see you guys next time. All right, guys, if you made it to this point in the video and you are a regular viewer of the left wing, you know what I'm going to say right now. Thank you very much. It helps us so much in the algorithm. And if you want to help us even more, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and definitely check out our amazing guests we had on this week. I'll let them introduce themselves and tell you where to find them. Lynn, you go first.
Yeah, I'm Politic and Lynn. You can find me on Instagram at Politic and Lynn, or you can find me on my new TikTok page at Politic and Lynn News.
Hey, everybody, I'm Natalie Bencivenga, and you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of the places at Natalie Bencivenga, and you can check out my website, nataliebencivenga.com.
Thank you, guys. Folks, we appreciate you coming in and taking a break from, the man-made horrors beyond your comprehension you meet in your everyday life, and, just chilling out and getting some news from us. But be sure to check out our guests and follow us, like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate all their help.